Well, welcome back to another episode of the Differently podcast. This podcast is for purpose-driven artists and creatives who want to do things differently. Today is going to be a different episode. I don't have a guest on, it's just going to be me, just a solo episode. And I thought what would be really interesting for the topic today is to talk about why I chose to leave being an artist. So I thought I'd dive into that and all the different points and, what I've picked up along the way that has now, led me into the position that I am now. And so I hope that you enjoy this episode and that it brings value to you. And yeah, see you next time. All right. So why did I leave being an artist? Oh my gosh. I've been an artist my whole life, just doing the same thing, and I was sold out for it. It was get in the studio. It was make a bunch of songs, get in the studio, release them, get on the road, rehearse, cultivate a fan base, talk to your fan base, get to know them, release merch, doing all of those things for, years and years and years and years and years. And then, along that journey, you really, what I kind of found was I was really cultivating a lot of these skills and in, managing and money management and time management and, just learning the different parts of the industry, knowing the roles in the industry, who to talk to when. Learned a lot about leverage and momentum, and it was getting to the point where I was enjoying that part of it more than being an artist. There was always this struggle, right? Of I just want to create, I just want to do the shows, and I just want to talk to the fans. But then there was this other part of me that was when I'm interacting with different people within the industry that are not artists, it's just, industry people or merch people or promoters or, other bands. I was finding that I was enjoying a lot of that too. And it was kind of, I think as artists and, anyone that is listening that is an artist, and you will agree, you may actually agree with this, is the fact that sometimes we just feel we're going to arrive at this place where we don't have to think about all those things outside of our music. And I was always in my mind being that day will come, just have to keep grinding. And then, eventually we will get to that, or eventually I will be able to have that. And other people will be able to manage a lot of the things, whether it's through a manager or a label or an agency, we would be able to essentially delegate all those things that I was doing. I could just delegate to other people. And what I was finding those people was just really difficult. It was either I was running into people that their intentions weren't exactly what they were showing. They just didn't have good business etiquette. Or they weren't at a level yet to where I had anything to offer. And when you're in this mode and kind of coming against a no and a no after a no, or just a problem after a problem, that does get very tiring, and then that does affect your art. And so it got to the point where when I was in a position where I didn't have to think about being an artist, and I took a moment to write down all the skills that I have, outside of this, entity, right? This is Breeze as an artist. These are all the roles that Breeze would do. I was now looking at it with a fresh perspective. And what I was finding is a lot of the skills that I had were things that could actually add a lot of value to other artists if, I decided to go that way. And as I was running into more and more, artists around town, artists around Nashville, my friends are artists, everyone in Nashville is an artist. And they would share the problems that they were facing, or, it would just be little things like there was a show and there was like no preparation for it, or on show day there was no communication between venues and sound engineers and between the bands, and like when's people's sound checks, or artists were doing sound checks for way longer than, they should have, and it was eating into like, the whole sound check time, and now it's doors and not everyone's been able to check. So it's like there was like a lot of this organization that just wasn't there, where I was looking at it being like, I could really help with this, because, to me, it was just like a very easy thing to come across of. It was like, well, how do you not know that? Or, how do you not see that this could be way more efficient if you just did this, this, and this? So being able to start to see myself in a different light, and being in a position where I could literally just be like, hey, like this is what I do and this is what I can help with, that I can help you with, kind of allowed me to meet this new person, because I wasn't looking at me as, once I get through all of these things, now I got to go do a show. Or once I get through all of these tasks, now I get in the studio. Or once I get through all of these things that, need to be organized, now, we can promote whatever it is that we have to do. I was now looking at it as, this is who I am and this is what I can provide. And I'm really good at it because I've had like a lot of this experience, and I can give you the shortcuts. And if they're not a shortcut, I can definitely give you some tips, or literally help you just organize things in a way to where you will not be running into these problems down the line. And another reason that I stepped away from being an artist is because I was feeling I was getting to a point where that's the only way people would view me, was like, oh, you're just the drummer. And I was getting to a point in my life where personally that was starting to irk me, because I knew, like before it was starting to irk me, and this is when I knew I was in transition, but before it would irk me, I would just like laugh at it, being like, well, I got nothing to prove to you. I know I'm like offer way more than what you think. And if that's what you think I only am, then that's cool with me. Like I got nothing to like prove to you. And I really do navigate my life most of the way like that. Like I don't have to prove anything to anyone, and I'm not in competition with anybody. Like I'm just doing my own thing, right? And so when I was getting to a point where I felt like I had to like say, well, I also produce, and I also like manage things, and I also, organize a lot of things. I also am like a showrunner, like a content creator. Like when I felt the need to be like, hey, and this was all internal, is like, hey, I actually have a lot more to offer, and this can be of great value to people. I started to really come out of my shell a lot more. And, I also started to see a lot of the problems. I could kind of hear a lot of the same grievances, particularly in the independent world. But like even when you speak to an artist that is established, or they do have a team, like is running into the same problems. And this kind of brings me to my point of like, in my own personal journey of getting sober and just starting to understand how to, take care of myself and to, set boundaries. And a lot of it isn't to keep people away. It's just that you start to understand your value as a person. And as you are getting healthier and becoming a healthier person, that sometimes does two things. One, it irks people around you because they're not benefiting from you not understanding your value. But other things that it does is it helps you actually allow others to understand their own value. And what I was getting to the point in being able to observe was like, everybody is so unique in their value that we all have an answer that solves a very specific problem. So it's like we have a specific answer that solves a specific problem. And I was like in this season in my own life where I was really discovering a lot of these things and seeing how in this box that I had myself in, a lot of the resistance that I was feeling, or a lot of the irks that I was feeling, was because I wanted to break out of that box that I didn't realize I had myself in. So being able to like really remove those limits, it was almost like this way that now I could see the full picture. I was only really seeing it in a very small way. And, I if it was like a year ago, it would be like, yeah, I'm an artist. Whereas now it's like, I think I've always been more than an artist. I just had to go through the role of being an artist. So now I can better communicate to artists, because I can say like, hey, I know all of the blocks that you're going through, or I know all of the paths that you get led down by the industry or by social media or by comparison or by all of these things, and I've overcome them, so I know how to handle them. And being able to have that patience and also that grace that I had to show myself just on my way through my own sobriety, it's just really interesting that translates into being able to sit with people through their own roadblocks and whatever it is that it is for them. So it really came to this point where it was like, I have to leave this behind, for me to really do what I need to do now and step into the role that I need to be, become the person that can really be able to handle that. I have to like walk away from the limiting beliefs that I find in my own mind. And this is all a real like internal process. It has nothing to do with the external. Like, yes, the external can sometimes be a catalyst for the pivots that I have to do, but most of it is happening on the inside. And, I'm really honestly like the happiest I've ever been, the most confident I've ever been. And there's just a lot of things out there that it's like, we as, in the music industry or in the creative industry, there's so many problems that we do not have to continue facing. Like, we really don't. If we choose to just say no, or if we choose to just have our standards a little higher. And I really believe that in what I'm doing now, it is being able to challenge that limiting belief that we can't, and challenge the limiting belief that you can't be financially well off in your music, and also really challenging a lot of these ideologies that we feel that is familiar. That's why it's keeping us stuck in our career. And I can say that with confidence because it's like I've been there and I've done that, and I can be able to identify that in other people. It's just like the same with sobriety. I can identify when someone is, in addiction and they may not realize it yet, or because it's like, I used to say all those things. I used to believe all those things, and it doesn't even have to be with addiction. It can just be in, they don't have that self-esteem or that self-confidence, and there's so much in that of the reasons why we stay stuck in that place. I know for me, a lot of it that I'm battling with now is this imposter syndrome, because when I would have an idea or I would have a vision or I would speak up or stand up for myself, I would usually find myself in positions that would, dismiss that or keep me down in a certain place. So now that I'm like coming out of that and challenging that belief that, was told to me many times, and it's like may have served a purpose at some point, but now it doesn't. Being able to just allow myself to challenge that, just in that curiosity, the like momentum of life just changes, and there's a lot of things that just don't stick with you anymore. It's like you're building this courage or building this confidence, and the only way to battle that is to just do it scared and do it unsure, and I feel like at some point, if there's anything in my lifetime like that I would want to achieve, is a lot of these things that are limiting us, in the music industry or even just in the creative industry, and if you're in it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If in my lifetime, like, they become just a non-existent thing and a thing of the past, like, I know that I at least led this well, and I led my life well, and I did exactly what it is that is the call, like, on my life and like my purpose. And I can only encourage other people to do that in whatever it is for them. And, again, I'm in competition with nobody. I don't think ill of anybody. I just think that there is a way that I want to move forward in my life, and things that I would tolerate that I didn't need to because I was scared of how other people what they would think of me or how they would react. I owe it to myself to not limit myself based off what other people say and what other people think. I honestly am in a place now where it's like, I don't care what you think of me, and I don't care if, it rubs you the wrong way, because I've done a lot of sacrificing to get to this level of peace. It's cost me a lot, and I know for a fact that I move with pure intentions, and my life shows that, and I don't have to say anything. And all I want out of this is for everyone that I come into contact with, or everyone that, is around me, is that they can confidently say exactly what I just said. And that's the type of person that I want to be, and what I want to be influencing in my culture.